You already know more than you think. The problem is you don't yet know how to read the signs, because every single person leaves clues. And Nietzsche's 18 truths will show you exactly how to find them, and what they really mean. This isn't a shallow list or quick tips you'll forget tomorrow. It's a complete breakdown in 3 powerful parts, each one building on the last. Skip ahead and you'll miss the depth. But stay with me, and by the end, you won't just understand others. You'll see yourself in ways you never expected. From childhood, we're trained to believe words. Words are the currency of human interaction. But Nietzsche warned language is often a mask. People don't speak from pure truth. They speak from fear, from ego, from survival. That's why the person who seems overly kind may not be kind at all. They may just be terrified of rejection. The one who seems the strongest may secretly be crumbling, desperate no one notices. And here's the shocking part. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They're not hiding from you. They're hiding from themselves. Nietzsche once said, "Every profound spirit needs a mask." Not as an insult, but as a warning. Never confuse the mask with the person beneath. People leak the truth. Here's the secret no one tells you. People leak their truth constantly. Not in their words, but in the cracks. The quick glance away. The laugh that lasts a little too long. The way someone rushes to change the subject when things get too close. Truth. #1. Everyone wears a mask not because they're fake, but because they're scared. Watch for what makes someone uncomfortable. That tension is where the real person begins. Truth #2. What someone hates in others reveals what they're hiding in themselves. This is projection. The person mocking arrogance, usually insecure about their own worth. The one obsessed with dishonesty, often running from their own truth. What we attack in others is often what we refuse to face in ourselves. Truth #3. Silence reveals more than words. Nietzsche saw language as a tool of avoidance. When someone hesitates, gives short, rehearsed answers, or dodges certain topics, that silence speaks louder than any sentence. Truth #4. Excessive virtue is often disguised. Vanity. Beware the loudest moralizers, the one constantly preaching purity, correcting others, or virtue signaling, often has something hidden behind the performance. Real goodness doesn't need applause. Truth #5. People don't lie to you first. They lie to themselves. The words, "I'm fine," "I don't care," "I'm over it," aren't always attempts to deceive you. They're rehearsed survival scripts. They've told the lie so often, they believe it. And those inconsistencies, that's where the real truth seeps out. Truth #6. Where someone feels superior, they're hiding inferiority. Superiority is usually overcompensation. The one who constantly reminds you of their success, often terrified of being overlooked. The one who puts others down, usually fears being insignificant. Real confidence doesn't need to dominate, it simply is. The purpose of reading people isn't about judgment or manipulation. It's about understanding. When someone interrupts constantly, it might not be arrogance. It might be fear of being forgotten. When someone posts endlessly about happiness, it may be a silent cry for help. When someone avoids your eyes while saying "I'm fine," believe the body, not the sentence. These truths aren't about exposing people, they're about compassion. Because when you see someone clearly, hatred becomes almost impossible, and that's Nietzsche's secret. Didn't want you to see through others to control them. He wanted you to stop being fooled and start connecting. So, if you've ever looked at someone and felt like you were only seeing the surface, if you've ever wished you could decode what's really going on beneath their mask, drop a comment below. And if this helped you see people differently, subscribe, because this is only the beginning of Nietzsche's truths. It's one thing to notice the mask. It's another to watch it slip. And once you've seen it, you'll never unsee it. Thiway, their tone shifts when the subject gets too close. The nervous laugh, that doesn't match the words. These moments aren't mistakes. They're clues. And if you know what to look for, you'll begin to understand that people aren't hard to read. They're just scared to be seen. In part 1, we explored how people build personas to protect themselves. But here in part 2, we go deeper into the places where those personas begin to break, because Nietzsche believed that the self is not a stable thing. It's a performance, a stitched-together role meant to serve the world. And the moment it's threatened, the truth leaks out. Most actions are driven by fear. Let's start here because it's more universal than you think. 7. Most actions are driven by unconscious fear. Ask yourself this: why does someone over-explain? Why do they dominate a conversation or disappear completely? Why do they sighs when they clearly mean no? Fear of abandonment, rejection, humiliation, failure. Nietzsche knew that humans rarely act from pure desire. They act from a deep fear of loss, of status, of love, of self-worth. So when you want to read someone, stop focusing on what they say they want. Instead, ask, what are they afraid of losing? That's where the truth lives. Criticism is a mirror. Next time someone constantly criticizes, listen closely. 8. When someone criticizes too much, it's projection. The man who mocks emotional people might be terrified of his own feelings. The woman who belittles others for their appearance be locked in a secret war with her reflection. Nietzsche said that judgment is almost never about the other. It's about the self. So when you hear repeated criticisms, don't be distracted by get. Instead, trace the line back to the speaker. What part of them are they trying to disown? Projection isn't just a defense mechanism. It's a confession. If you listen right, it tells you exactly where someone's pain lives. Confidence is often guilt and costume. There's a kind of person you've the one who seems overly sure of themselves, always in control, always composed, but watch long enough, and you'll see the tension in their jaw. Thiway, they over-prepare. The defensiveness under pressure. 9. Guilt hides behind. False confidence. Nietzsche observed this phenomenon in leaders, teachers, preachers, those who perform certainty because they're scared off being seen. When someone is chronically confident, looked for guilt, they're trying to bury. Maybe it's something they regret. Maybe it's a version of themselves they're trying to prove wrong. Real peace doesn't perform. So when Simone seems too confident, don't be intimidated. Be curious. Exaggeration reveals the hidden truth. This one is subtle but powerful, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. 10. People betray themselves through exaggeration. Someone who constantly says, I don't care what anyone thinks, likely cares deeply. Someone who claims, I'm always happy, likely isn't. Exaggeration is a tell. It's the ego trying to drown out. Nietzsche believed that extremism in any direction is a form of imbalance, not strength. So when some statements sound too absolute, don't believe the content. Read the insecurity on earth. Exaggeration is volume. The question is, what are they trying to? The desire for control masks inner chaos. Control. We seek it everywhere, in our jobs, our relationships, our routines. But some people crave it to the point of obsession, and that's a sign. Fear of inner chaos. 11. Those who seek control often fear inner chaos. NZ saw this clearly. When the inner world is disordered, the outer world must be managed obsessively. If someone micromanages every detail, if they can't handle change, if they dominate people to feel powerful, it's not because they're strong, it's because me inside them feels out of control. So instead of fearing the controlling person, see them for what they are. Someone terrified that the moment they let go, it will all fall apart. They're stricter, the outer shell, the more fragile, the inner self. Performance equals emptiness in disguise. This is one of Nietzsche's most haunting insights, and it applies more today than ever. The louder the performance. 12. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. Look at social media, the endless look at me energy, the perfect poses, the constant updates, the curated identity. NZ didn't see this as strength. He saw it as desperation. When someone is constantly performing, it's because they don't believe they'll seen or loved without it. So they create noise, color, drama. But the person who truly knows themselves doesn't need to be watched. They're already whole. So when someone's life looks like a performance, remember this. It's not a show of power. It's a whisper of need. Putting it together, you're probably starting to feel it now. The shift. You walk into a room and suddenly, the patterns speak louder than words. You see someone interrupting constantly and realize they're terrified of being forgotten. You see someone who endlessly and sense their invisible wound. You're not reading minds, you're reading the mask. And Nietzsche gave you the flashlight. This isn't just a skill. It's a responsibility. Once you learn to see people clearly, you can't unsee it. And you'll begin to understand that most people are suffering quietly behind polished smiles. Reading them is not about gaining leverage. It's about offering. When you see the child behind the critic, the fear behind the bully, the guilt behind the arrogance, you don't become weaker, you become unshakable. Want more. If this part of the video pained your eyes, wait until the final part, because in part 3, we strip away the final layer. We'll explore how people's deepest childhood wounds show up in their adult personalities, how their envy, their silence, their need to be remembered, all reveal their soul. You'll learn the final 6 truths that make you see people with absolute. But more importantly, you'll understand yourself. By now, something in you has shifted. You don't just see people, you read them. Not as villains, not as victims, but as humans trying to serve with masks they didn't avenge us. But we're not done yet. Because at bend every behavior is a belief, and behind every belief is a wound. This final part is about learning to recognize the soul, the deep story that hides underneath the surface of every one you meet. Nietzsche didn't just expose people's patterns. He illuminated where those patterns come from. Let's finish what we started. Point 13. No one speaks from logic. No one speaks from logic from pain. You might think that people are irrational, that they argue based on facts, make decisions based on reason. But NZ believed otherwise. He believed thought underneath every logical argument is an emotional wound. A person might say, I don't believe in love. It's just a fantasy. But listen closely. They're not stating a fact. They're protecting a opinion. People form their views based on what hurt them, then justify those views with logic. So when you want to understand someone's worldview, don't just ask what they believe. Ask what broke them. Ask what scared them. Ask like what they never want to feel again. This changes everything. It shifts your focus from why are they saying this toe hat? Are they afraid of repeating? And suddenly their opinions aren't single quotes. They're defenses, their arguments aren't attacks, they're shields. And when you see that, you start understanding. 14. How someone reacts to weakness reveals their power. Want to truly see some character? Don't watch how they treat powerful people. Watch how they treat someone who can't fight back. Nietzsche believed that real strength isn't through domination, it's revealed through restraint. If Simeone mocks vulnerability, they're afraid of their own. If someone punishes mistakes, they likely weren't allowed to make any. If someone always wins but leaves others bleeding, they're still at war with themselves. But the person who can witness weakness without judgment, who can sit with sadness without running away, who can forgive what they could have punished, that's someone who is no longer ruled by the past. They don't need to prove anything because they've won the inner war. So if you are one to read someone, give them a moment where compassion is an option. What they do in that moment will show you who they are, not just who they pretend to be. When someone fears being forgotten, 15. When someone fears being forgotten, they chase attention. Ever met someone who always needs to be seen? Every room they enter, every story they tell, every outfit they wear screams, "Notice me." At first glance, it looks like confidence, but Nietzsche saw through it. He believed that the hunger for attention often comes from a deeper fear. The fear of being invisible, off-bung, erased, of living and dying without leaving a mark. So people creatinize it, they love it, but because they can't bear the silence. The child who is ignored becomes the adult who overcompensates, and instead of asking for love directly, they demand it indirectly, through performance, drama, or chaos. So when you see someone who's too much, don't be quick to judge. Ask what afraid will happen if there are not enough. Because sometimes attention is vanity. It's a cry. 16. The person they attack is often their person. They envy. One of Nietzsche's boldest truths, and own off, the hardest to admit, is this. People don't always attack because they hate. They often attack because they admire, but feel they can never be. Criticism is easier than admiration. So the person who tears down someone inaccessible, who mocks someone confident, who gossips about someone free, isn't just mean, they're in pain. Because to see someone embody a part of you that you've abandoned is to be reminded of what you've lost. So instead of celebrating the other, we destroy them. But envy is just unspoken desire. It's the soul saying, I want that too. Booty, don't believe I'm allowed. If you can see this in others, you become immune to petty hate. If you can see this in yourself, you become free. People act out their childhood. 17. People act out their childhood, not their beliefs. You've heard it said, people don't change. But Nietzsche would say, people repeat. They repeat the roles they were forced to play, the fears they were taught to carry, the dynamics they never escaped. A person who was never heard, Simeone, who never listens. A person who is punished for expressing emotions, bums, cold, logical, detached. A person who had to earn love, Simeone, who performs for affection even when it's toxic. They think they're acting from beliefs, but really they're just reenacting So if you want to read someone, don't just look at who they are. Ask who they had to be, because behavior is just biography, and behind every adult is a child still waiting to feel safe. 18. Their patterns are a confessionaire, a confession. If you know how to listen, this is the final truth, and it changes everything. People don't always know how to express what hurts, but they will show you again through patterns. A person who ghosts when things get close. A persona overworks to avoid stillness. A person who flirts with everyone but connects with no one. These aren't random behaviors, they're confessions. They're saying, this issue, I protect myself. They're saying, this is where I was hurt. They're saying, this is what I fear, repeating. NZ believed that if you learn to listen deeply, not to words, but to patterns, you can hear the truth before it's spoken. And when you do, something amazing happens. You stop personalizing. You stop judging. You start understanding. You become a mirror, not a weapon. You become someone who's seasoned, still chooses grace. And that more than any tactic or trick is what makes it powerful. You're not just reading people, you're remembering yourself. Now, take a moment and reflect. Every truth we covered wasn't just about other people. It was about you, your own patterns, your own fears, your own childhood scripts. Because the more clearly you see others, the more clearly you see yourself. This isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new way of seeing. NZ didn't just want us to observe. He wanted us to awaken, to know that everything we judge in others is something we carry. Everything we admire is something we long to embody. So, if you've felt seen by this video, if you've recognized patterns in people in yourself, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below of these 18 truths hit you the hardest. Let's build something honest together in a world full of masks. And if this spoke to you, subscribe. This is just the beginning of learning to see what's hidden and becoming who you really are. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.